I'm Matthew Whalley. I'm a director at ILEX Content Strategies. I'm here with Michael Wheeler, who's an executive vice president of NTT Communications Global IP Network at NTT America. And to start, I just want to ask Michael, NTT Communications is number one in wholesale IP in Asia and the number two provider in North America. So as market leaders in these two places, what traffic trends do you see between these two continents?
The traffic between the continents continues to grow. It does organically within those continents, but certainly between the continents as well. I mean, the big driver for the most part still is video and social media and the typical kind of larger traffic drivers. It's not growing because of email. So we know it's growing because of those types of larger files and the streaming that's happening between continents and that type of stuff. So yeah, we're seeing it grow and continue to grow over time.
Great. And NTT Communications has been a kind of a pioneer in 100G technology. What were the reasons for getting into 100G so early, and what benefits does it provide?
I think for us, there's a real strong internal drive around research and development as a company, and so certainly one of them is just continuing to kind of press the envelope in regards to technology. Obviously, being the cool person with the new technology isn't all that matters. We have to have a good business case around it, and ultimately, the capacity volumes and the cost structures around 100 gig become very favorable and important for us. So there's a demand in the marketplace for that level of capacity, but also the cost benefits are significant. And so once those things came into alignment, that's when we really went forward with putting stuff into production.
Okay. And just speaking of business cases, I noticed that you've acquired Indonesian data center last year. You also added points of presence in Indonesia and Thailand. So what is the strategy behind your Asian expansion, and how successful has that been so far?
It's been very successful so far. I mean, Asia obviously is an important region for us, being an NTT company, so it's a critical place for us around the world, but the reality is, in both Thailand and in Indonesia, there were markets we didn't have a point of presence in until just a couple years ago. Okay. So adding those markets to our global network was important. It's opportunistic from our perspective, as well as we have other customers that were demanding us to be in those places. So kind of we get a push-pull equation that happens.
Okay. Just shifting gears to look at OTT providers, you've said many times, I guess in the past, that global carriers and OTTs can work together instead of being adversaries. So what are the differences between OTT players you see in Asia and in North America?
I think a little bit of the difference is that the organic OTT players in Asia are, to be honest, a little bit less mature as businesses compared to some of the larger players out of the US or Europe. That's not a bad thing, it's just a state of their growth as an organization and enterprise. Sure. But I think the partnership relationship works wherever the genesis of the business is. And the ecosystem of content and end users is critical for the internet to work as an environment, much less as a commercial opportunity.
Okay. So one of the big topics at PTC this year is the evolution of the traditional wholesale business models. And looking at finding new areas of growth. So what kind of opportunities and trends do you think will enable wholesale carriers to capture new revenue in the future?
I think from a generic point of view, we see growth opportunities in the wholesale space being a bit more about creating those types of relationships that add value in both ways, and to be honest, just not being ultra restrictive from an ILEC point of view. Being able to see the business evolve over time and the demands of end customers really be taken as the important factor, and figure out a business case that works within the context of that factor.
So you think it's more important to think about the end users and people who are actually using these services and taking them into account when you're developing your business?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what we think the ultimate driver is, and we want to make sure that not only our direct customer, but their end users are also happy with the experience they're getting, and ultimately that creates greater opportunity for us in the future.
Great. And what are you most excited about within your business in 2016?
I mean, for us, it's just continue to try to stay ahead of the curve from a capacity and a traffic point of view. It may not sound very sexy, but the reality is that as all the things that are happening around applications that people are using, whether for business or consumer, occur, we have to continue to keep the network in a place where it supports those applications and the level of traffic that's there. So for us, 100 gig has been a big part of the conversation for the last year or two, and we continue to roll out and deploy that across the network globally. And seeing the cost benefits is a great thing, but ultimately just staying ahead of that capacity curve is a big challenge for us.
Sure. Well, that sounds great, Michael. It's been great speaking with you, and thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.